We're talking about, I think, the second highest grossing movie in all of Hong Kong history today. So, yeah, I think that's what I read. Doing really well. And we just came back from watching it, at least for is this the American premiere? American premiere. I mean, I know it's been out in Hong Kong for a little bit now, but we finally got a hold of it, and it's all right. It's all right. It's fine. It's only been like 2-3 days since we last watched it. We're now talking about it and recording it, and I'm already forgetting the movie.
Yeah, I think that's kind of my issue with the movie is it's a little long. It's got that 2-hour runtime, and there are aspects of it that I absolutely love. But then when it comes to the overall movie, I'm a little lukewarm on it. So, yes, Kowloon Wall City, based on the infamous Kowloon Wall City that was in Hong Kong, a city that was, I guess, built outside the jurisdiction of the government to an extent.
Yeah, to an extent, yeah.
But just for very poor, impoverished people, just kind of living in this kind of weird zone unto themselves, and it basically transpired like they were just in their own little district, protected by certain people, lots of triads and mob dealings going on amongst all the prostitution, and then businesses that were in the city as well. So it was like it's just own functioning thing.
Yeah.
So I think it's amazing that they recreated the look and the feel and the claustrophobia of this actual place. Like the set design and just the lighting and the feeling of everything is perfect. It looks so good. There's a lot of CGI assistance there, and I think that's okay because obviously to create a city of this massive scale, they can't do the whole thing. But for the most part, the sets in this are so good. This feels real. It feels good.
Well, what's the story, Zero? Unless you want me to take it. I can take it.
There is a refugee played by Raymond Lam. He comes to Hong Kong. He wants to get a identification card, and he's there as a fight. You know, he's kind of doing underground fights. He catches the eye of Sammo Hung. Sammo Hung says, like, oh, hey, like, I'll get you a identification card. I won't give you the pay for this fight. It turns out Sammo Hung fleeces him and gives him a phony card. So Raymond Lam's like, well, I'm going to steal this money I see you guys packing into these bags. A chase ensues, and he finds refuge in the titular city of Kowloon.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically about him acting as an audience surrogate and introducing us to the life of living in this city. You know, very poor, but it is a very close-knit group of people who have established residency there and have made it their own thing because there's businesses, there's restaurants, there's Louis Koo running a barber shop. So it's like everything you could want in this really weird, kind of dingy, dilapidated space. But the movie really kind of romanticizes it as well.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see rats, you don't see dust, you don't see cockroaches, but you do see metal rebarb sticking out of concrete, wires upon wires running up and down the walls. So it's a beautiful mess that the movie's like reminiscing in this kind of nostalgic way. Like, oh, remember when we lived in Kowloon, how great that was?
The things that are happening between the characters, like, I actually don't find it very believable. Like, if you're just supposed to buy, like, okay, Raymond Lam is now, like, BFFs with these people, and, you know, he really wants to be in with everyone, and he's essentially found a family. And I thought that was probably one of the weakest elements of the movie. It was like it felt more like it was telling but not showing. It felt like, you want.
I mean, they do show basically like how do men, commiserate together and form friendship. Well, they beat up a murderer, a man who kills a prostitute, by all simultaneously slamming him into the ground. That's how you become best friends. And then you play mahjong, but cheat each other out of money by, like rigging the game. Like, sure.
And the Chinese and gambling. That's what it is.
佢哋聚埋一齊有一個歸屬感。
I wasn't fully buying it entirely. I felt some of those scenes were kind of like forced. It didn't feel like there was real chemistry between these characters.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. Nope. That's a good way of putting it. I didn't feel the chemistry. You can tell that they were writing them to like each other, but in the end, it doesn't latch on to me.
Yeah. I mean, granted, there's actually a lot that happens in the story, and we won't spoil any of it. I mean, since it's
long,
it's a long movie.
It's about, we're in the backdrop of gang wars. So in the beginning of the movie, a gang war happens that Louis was a part of, and he kind of stops it. And there's kind of like territorial struggles between him and Sammo Hung, because Sammo Hung kind of wants to take over Kowloon Wall City because of the property value. And then, we also didn't mention there's a Philip Ng is in this movie as a villain. I don't think I've ever seen him as a villain before, so this was kind of fun.
Oh, I guess not. Usually, he pairs with Andy On all the time. And
yeah,
Andy On's always the villain.
Right. Oh man, I wanted Andy On to just have a tiny cameo, just be like, "Ha! I'm in here for a second." Philip Ng, chewing scenery. Oh boy, he was having fun being this goofball of an overpowered villain, and he was probably the highlight for me, because I didn't like any of these characters. Kind of like you mentioned, they're all, they're written to have character, but I didn't like any of their characters. Mm-hmm. So all I have left is Philip Ng, who's hamming it up, and that's like the standout for me in terms of actors.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I kind of wish I had better things to say about the story. I just didn't care. I mean, I think the aesthetics of the film were way more interesting. So, story's probably not the winning element of the movie, and the characters aren't. So, what do we have left? We have the action. Hey, that's why you guys are listening to us, right? We do have some martial artists in the movie, right? Mostly like we have like Sammo Hung as part of this, is like this production, and a smaller role. He's not a small role, but he's a smaller role, but like
small role with action.
Yeah, with action, and then Philip Ng, right? But then like outside of that, like the four main male leads, they don't have much action background. I mean, I think they've dabbled in it a little bit, like some not at all. So seeing them on screen, like doing their thing, it shows. I mean, they're. I think Kenji Tanigaki said it himself. Like the way that he had to choreograph some of the action was kind of like just do it on the spot. They a lot of trial and error, rather, because they don't know what the actors are capable of doing, which is fine. So watching the movie, it's like, all right, they do a fine enough job. It's just for a movie like this, I was kind of hoping like it would just be, we could have at least casted more martial artists in it.
每一個人都有好睇重金子嗰個動作嗰個成分，係啦，所以佢哋個個都好勤力，同埋好有 passion。
We have actors who are not really adept on-screen fighters, so it kind of sounds like he needed to work around them in order to make something cohesive. And when you see it all, you see the edits, and in my mind, I keep thinking, okay, they have to edit around the fact that these people can't fight. So you have this consistent tempo in order to get this like shot, reverse shot of what's going on with the action. and they were probably doing the moves in like shorter bursts because they couldn't handle longer takes of choreography.
Yeah, and I don't want to diminish what the actors went through. Like they had, I think they had a whole month to film all this, the action. So roughly around a month.
They had a month to train.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay. My verbiage is the one that's the thing that's tripping me up. But yes, you're right. They have 1 month to train for all this, so that may or may not be enough time, especially for some of these guys who first outing.
Not. I mean, when you hear about what American action movie stars get, sometimes, I mean, John Wick is the outlier. They get 5 months. Sometimes.
Yeah. I kind of wish it wasn't like an afterthought. I wish that they spent a little bit more time on that. So, like, we can take any person and turn them into an action star given enough time and training.
Enough time. Well, that's the problem. It's funny. I think the issue with the action is we're holding it to a higher standard because it's a Hong Kong film.
Yeah.
If I take myself out of this and I look at the action and I just think like, okay, well, what if this is just like an American film? I'd be like, wow, this is nicely done.
Yeah.
Right? It's all there and it looks fun. There's there's a lot of laughter and reactions eliciting from the action.
Well,
so it's entertaining in that aspect. But I think because we romanticize about 80s, 90s Hong Kong action, I think we're kind of stuck in wanting something that feels similar.
Yeah. I know that's just wishful thinking, obviously. But so, like, to your point, I will say, an action isn't to our standards, but I will say it's still kind of entertaining because I had to stop. Anyone who's saying this is a return to Hong Kong action, that's not the case at all. I don't even try to deny that. But I will admit it's entertaining because this is more in line with your traditional, your current modern day comic book movie, because that's what this is. It's a superhero movie. When you're watching the action and you're seeing these people doing the crazy shit that they are, you realize, like, oh shit, this is a wuxia film. This is practically a wuxia movie. It's people are doing absurd things. Like Louis Koo can punch you in the stomach, and you are gonna corkscrew fly 20 feet behind you. Or like people are, I don't know, like the whole existence of Philip Ng's character is that he is, a super villain. He's a super villain. He's literally a super villain. He's invincible.
He's got that qigong chi sort of move where he can like harness his energy so that his body is unbreakable. So There's moments in the end of the movie, in the final fight scenes, where our heroes are literally slashing at him with blades, and he's blocking it. He's biting swords in half. It's so over the top that you start to realize, like, oh, okay, yeah, this is a comic book movie. These people have superpowers, not in the way that American comic book heroes have superpowers, but just like, it's very Chinese, very Hong Kong.
Yeah.
I think why this feels a little different is because we don't have a fight scene in here with drawn out choreography where it's just people fighting and that's it. It's just flesh hitting flesh. What Kenji Nagaki has done here is he's really incorporated these sets because obviously we have these elaborate sets to do stuff with it. So he's adding so much stunt work in the sets too. So many stuntmen are falling, they're getting their heads thrown through concrete walls or breaking aspects of the set. They're hanging off it, they're dangling off it. So it's action, but it's not just fight choreography. So there's actually a lot of just stuff interspliced with fighting going on. And I think that's where the separation is. And that's where some people might be disappointed because they might just want straight up kung fu fight when that's actually not the case at all.
I think you and I were just cackling at the movie in an audience full of people who were just like, wow. we're like laughing at the movie because of how absurd it was. And I think that's where like you and I have kind of like developed a little bit of thicker skin to this, because like we expect more. So it's like when something just absurd is happening, I'm not impressed by it. I'm just freaking, I think it's hilarious, and I'm just laughing at it because it's how ridiculous it is. And again, this movie's wuxia-esque action style, so people are doing stupid things like, that donkey kick that or Philip Ng just appearing out of nowhere with 2 Uzis, and there's not been a single gun in the entire film. Well, then that's not entirely true. That's not true. But, like that, there's like, he randomly has guns like in a random shot, a random cut, and he's just firing away, like Al Pacino in Scarface. And, like, that's freaking hilarious. And like no one else in the room felt that for some reason. I'm like, okay, maybe I don't know, man.
I think the audience was laughing at the absurdity as well. I think people enjoyed this because it is over the top. I kind of mentioned these after the movie. It was kind of feeling like Indian cinema action, where they're pushing the envelope of like what is believable with physics, and then like when you push the physics, like that starts to become absurd, but the absurdity starts turning into entertainment and laughter.
Would I even want to revisit it to watch the fight scenes again? Like, nah, not really. It's like, because I already know, I experienced the one time, like, it didn't really stick out to me.
I want to rewatch the fights again because they kind of happen really fast and there's a lot of information going on. So I would like to rewatch them to just maybe like dissect it a little closer. It's interesting because, Sammo Hung's pretty old. They got him for a role and they got him to do some action. It's very clear that he's double to hell, but these are his later roles, and it's still interesting that he's willing to, be this physical despite being his age. And in the behind the scenes, he looked pretty capable, but then you just kind of see him cut up when it comes to how he's edited in the fights. So I don't know, maybe let's get Sammo Hung back and in the prequel, and I don't know, de-age the hell out of him, and I don't know, let him actually fight.
Why not?
Yeah, let him fight like like Robert De Niro in The Irishman. Let him try to kick somebody in the face and look like a 70-year-old man.
Why is that 40-year-old moving like a 70-year-old?